When I usually post my TikTok videos or my Instagram videos, I get lots of comments or messages from people who encourage me to talk about other things that they want me to discuss, like protests or corruptions or other wars. But recently, some American viewers have been suggesting that I talk about something else. Fog. You got me. As a British person, I love weather, and fog, while is interesting to me, I wasn't quite sure how it fit into geopolitics. Many of the lesser reputable tabloids are already talking about fog in America. They talk of a dangerous mist which is spreading over and causing fear on social media. Essentially, people are saying that the fog is unnatural, that they go into the fog and they smell chemical burning, and then when they leave the fog, they develop flu-like symptoms or issues with the breathing, which suggest either some kind of chemical spill or maybe even a biological weapon. It has on social media triggered an avalanche of social media conspiracy theories, ranging from the slightly anxious to the downright hysterical. And I mean, sure, that can be a pretty frightening thing. Imagine going for a simple walk and just accidentally breathing in what you might think might be poison, or going for a walk with your dog. Pretty frightening. I will come back to the fog in a moment, but next up on the thumbnail that I just showed you, drones. It is perfectly legal to fly a drone in the US for leisurely purposes. Not spying, obviously, but just to go out in the park and take your little drone for a spin around. And you can buy them on most reputable online stores. So what's the big deal? Well, apparently there's been a lot of drones. And while social media has quieted down a little bit regarding this, in late December there was a flurry of social media activity and worry about too many drones. And what were those drones up to anyway? Many amateur photographers caught drones flying near their homes or in parks. Often these drones were in groups and they would arrive at the same spot every day. And you know, if you look at the coverage of the Ukraine and Russian war, you'll learn that once a drone locks onto you, it's very difficult to get away. And some Americans started to feel quite anxious about these drones that just kept reappearing. Like, what do they want? What are they doing? Are they spying on me? Maybe, maybe not. It wasn't helped by the language that some US officials were using when describing these drones. One even suggested that the drones could be from the Iranian mothership. Donald Trump, the president-elect, even said that the government was not telling the public everything it needed to know about these drones. The president at the moment, Joe Biden, eventually came out alongside the FBI and they said there was nothing malicious about these drones. There was no malign intent, and Iran was certainly not parked in the nearby ocean sending out drones remotely as well. The US was better than that. Did the public believe it? Well, not really. Yes, the activity on social media died down, but people were still unconvinced. They felt that their government were hiding something from them. And Trump's claims, don't forget, Trump has won the election and captured the trust of many people in America. With Trump saying that the government wasn't telling them everything, that was a cause for concern. Okay, hold tight. We'll get back to that in a moment as well. Finally, the virus. Okay. There's no virus in America yet, but there is one in China. And once again, our favorite news sources, that's a joke by the way, they're covering the virus in China. I know you're checking your watch right now or looking at your calendar and saying, wait, is this 2020 again? Is this deja vu? But yes, there is a news story at the moment circulating which says there is a mysterious virus which has broken out in China. Chinese hospitals are overwhelmed by the patients coming in. And guess what the virus does? It gives you flu-like symptoms and trouble breathing. That is a cause for concern amongst many. It brings back the trauma of 2020 when there was, of course, a lockdown-induced pandemic. And how did that start off? That started off allegedly in China with people suffering illnesses and lung issues, and overwhelming the hospitals. And don't forget, back then, the Chinese government had said that there was nothing to worry about. And the World Health Organization, they had said that the virus was not airborne and not contagious. Yeah, right. And so finally I get to my point. Apologies for the yapping, it was essential for this point. What does the fog, the drones and the virus all have in common? Mistrust of authorities and fear. The recent flurry of social media speaks to how uneasy many Americans are feeling in their own homes right now, which is peculiar. For Ukrainians, they will fear Russian bombs. South Korea fears its neighbour. Americans, they seem to fear what their own administration is capable of. To someone on the outside like me, this might seem a little bit too much, a bit too much paranoia. Think chemtrails in the sky. But, chemtrails aside, I can sort of understand it. Transparency between governments and its citizens across the free world is low. Trust is plummeting. And that makes it even more difficult when you consider the US's difficult, complex history. Think developing biological weapons during the Cold War. Or if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, search up MK Ultra. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm just saying that the US and many other superpowers have dabbled in secret operations before, and at the time they're deemed as crazy and they later come out to be quite true. But for me, there's a very eerie coincidence. All of this has started to happen after the CEO of a healthcare insurance company in the US was shot down in New York City. The attacker was deemed a hero across social media. Many came forward online praising the attacker as retaliation for a system and a company that has robbed many people of their salaries and in some cases their lives. For a few days it almost had the whiff of a revolution, the poor man rising against the rich elite, or in the case of Luigi Mangione, a slightly wealthier person rising against the elite. So you had this really big uproar on social media, and then all of a sudden, the drones came along. Many criticised the government in the US of not doing enough to ease Americans' fears about the drones at the time. They were seen to be being too complacent. And then when US officials did start talking about it, they just made it worse. But I wonder, was that accidental and incompetent, or was it deliberate? If it was deliberate, then there would be potentially two aims. One would be to get the American public to stop thinking about that healthcare CEO. And the other one would perhaps be a casual reminder to the American public, it's a dangerous world out there. Don't try to fight a US system. During my videos, I don't like to tell people how to think, I just like to present evidence and facts and let you decide. For the most part, I don't think there's too much substance towards the drones and the fog, but you never know. We know that drones are bought commonly online, and during Christmas many people may take to playing with them in the sky. Joe Biden even suggested that perhaps the drones were part of pranksters trying to get on social media, and if that was the case, they were pretty successful. And we also know that it gets pretty cold around this time of year, and fog is quite common. As for the coughing and the flu-like symptoms that people experience going into the fog, it could be psychological, or it could just be the fact that there are pollutants in the air as well, and the fog is perhaps collecting those dirty chemicals. Or maybe it's just the flu season, although hopefully not that virus from China. And as for that virus in China, we know that pandemics occur roughly once every 100 years. So hopefully we've already ticked that box. That doesn't discredit the fears and the anxieties that people have on social media, some bordering on moderate, some bordering on hysterical. Their fears are real. A bigger and better question would be, why is the media picking up on these things? And also, why now?